Good morning to all of you, to Ariel supporting us from the studios, to our sign language interpreter, and to all of those who tune in to this briefing every morning. Today, 1,232 people are hospitalized in Cuba. 44 are under observation. There are 668 suspected cases and 520 confirmed active cases. Yesterday, over 4,000 samples were processed. 4,562 were processed in our various molecular biology laboratories. 1,608 were processed at the Pedro Curi Tropical Medicine Institute, 816 in Villa Clara's Hygiene, Epidemiology and Microbiology Center, 537 in Havana's, 279 in Santiago de Cuba's, 376 in the Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology Center Lab, 415 in the Hermanos Almajeires Hospital Laboratory, 149 in the Civil Defense Laboratories, 269 in the Molecular Immunology Center, and 113 in the National Center for Genetics Laboratory. Of the samples processed, 35 tested positive for SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. This brings the total number of samples processed in the entire country since the pandemic began to 356,225, of which 3,617, or 1.02%, have tested positive for the virus. Yesterday, samples were tested from all of the country's provinces. The most, as would be expected, from Havana, with 3,081. 222 were processed from Pinar del Rio, 278 from Artemisa, 223 from Villa Clara. You'll notice that these are provinces where clusters of cases have recently been reported. 81 from Mayabeque, 119 from Cienfuegos, where testing continues, although no new cases have been reported for several weeks. 123 from Camagüey, 129 from Holguín, and so on and so forth from all of the country's provinces and the Isle of Youth Special Municipality. Of the 35 positive cases diagnosed yesterday, 34 are Cubans and 1 is a foreigner, a temporary resident in the country. This person did not contract the virus abroad. They were infected in the country. 29 of the 34 Cubans to test positive yesterday are confirmed case contacts. This is the risk group with the highest number of confirmed cases. People who have come into contact with a person infected with COVID-19, therefore, represent the group at greatest risk of infection, with the highest number of positive cases in our country, and I'm sure also around the world. Here in Cuba, this group accounts for 83.5% of all diagnosed cases. It has not been possible to determine the source of infection linked to 5 of the positive cases yesterday, for a total of 252 cases where the source of infection is yet to be determined. This number could change by the afternoon, as work is ongoing to identify the source of infection and take the necessary measures once this has been done. It's worth mentioning that of all the cases diagnosed in the last 15 days, investigations are ongoing to identify the source of infection linked to 13, 4 in Artemisa, 7 in Havana, 1 in Villa Clara, and 1 in Matanzas. Therefore, it has so far not been possible to determine the source of infection in 13 of these 689 cases diagnosed in the last 15 days. Meanwhile, imported cases remain at 333. The temporary resident who tested positive for the virus yesterday is also a confirmed case contact and contracted the virus here in Cuba. Of the 35 positive cases yesterday, 15 are male, for 50.1% of all cases, while 20 are female, representing 49.9% of all diagnosed cases. There really is hardly any difference between the sexes. 25 of the 35 were asymptomatic at the time of testing. These cases account for 57.9% of all positive cases on the island. When we look at this figure over the last 15 days, we can see that it is almost the same, standing at 60%. We analyze these figures from a clinical and epidemiological standpoint because the more asymptomatic cases detected through our screening process, the quicker we are able to reach those infected. By age group, of the 35 positive cases yesterday, 5 are under the age of 20, 12 are between 20 and 39 years of age, 12 are also between 40 and 59, and 6 are over the age of 60. Notice how 17 of the 35 cases yesterday, practically 50%, are all young people under the age of 40. 30 of the 35 positive cases belong to Havana and 5 to Artemisa. Regarding Artemisa, 4 cases belong to the municipality of Mariel and are all confirmed case contacts linked to the outbreak in this locality. 1 case is from San Antonio de los Baños, the source of infection linked to which is yet to be determined. Of the 30 cases from Havana, 8 are from Arroyo Naranjo, 5 are from Boyeros, there are 4 each from La Lisa and Marianao, 3 are from Habana del Este, there are 2 from Playa, and 1 each from Guanabacoa, Regla, Centro Habana, and Cerro. The Provincial Defense Council is working hard to contain and prevent any further spread of infection. An important piece of data, and something we've been collecting and analyzing recently, is that of the 35 cases yesterday, 17 were diagnosed in isolation centers and 18 in hospitals. And this is the important thing, to catch people with the virus in time and isolate them, all before being tested, in order to stop the spread of infection among the community and local areas. Suspected cases, people with symptoms or signs of the virus, are usually admitted to hospital. Low-risk suspected cases are sent to isolation centers, as are confirmed case contacts, many of whom have no symptoms. Yesterday's results therefore mean that Havana continues to be the province with the highest confirmed case rate per 100,000 inhabitants over the last 15 days, with 25.24. Artemisa follows with a rate of 17.29, higher than yesterday's. Then comes Pinar del Rio with 4.80, Villa Clara with 2.83, Las Tunas with 0.93, Matanzas with 0.42, and Mayabeque with 0.52. This means that Cuba's rate stands at 6.15 per 100,000 inhabitants, slightly lower than yesterday's figure. To summarize, of the 3,617 people who have been diagnosed with the virus thus far in Cuba, 520, or 14.3%, are active hospitalized cases. 513, or 97%, are clinically stable. No deaths were reported yesterday in Cuba. Since the pandemic began, the island has registered 89 deaths, for a mortality rate of 2.46%, which places Cuba in 21st position in the Americas and 111th in the world. As I always mention, 2 patients were previously evacuated at the start of the pandemic. Yesterday, 55 people were discharged from hospital, a positive result when we compare the number of discharges with the number of confirmed cases yesterday. This means that to date, 3,006, or 83.2%, of all confirmed cases in Cuba have recovered from the virus. There are 3 patients from Havana reported as critical, all of whom are being treated in intensive care. Meanwhile, 14 are reported as serious, a high number compared with the figures we have seen over the last week. As is natural, the more cases, the higher the chance of these patients turning serious or critical, especially among those belonging to certain high-risk groups. Nonetheless, work continues and patients continue to receive treatment. You would have seen recently how Cuban scientists and scientific institutions are working to develop, in addition to a vaccine, new medications, treatment protocols, and therapeutic and preventative medicines, all of which mean that even critical patients can be saved. Of the serious patients reported yesterday, 3 more joined this group, while 1 patient went from serious to closely monitored. Now we are going to turn our attention to the world. As of yesterday, COVID-19 continues to be present in the same 185 countries. The total number of COVID-19 cases worldwide currently stands at 22,705,645, after 273,716 people were diagnosed with the virus yesterday. Yesterday, a high number of people died of the virus. We're talking about 6,331, for a total of 794,104 COVID-19 fatalities and a mortality rate of 3.50%. The region of the Americas, which accounts for practically 54% of all COVID-19 cases worldwide, reported 133,073 new cases yesterday, for a total of 12,194,253 confirmed cases. 3,942 deaths occurred in the region yesterday, bringing the COVID-19 death toll in the Americas to 435,468, and a mortality rate of 3.57%. Just like yesterday, over 1,000 people died of the virus in the United States, 1,078. Meanwhile, the country has reported a total of 5,573,847 confirmed cases. The other country that reported more than 1,000 COVID-19 related deaths yesterday was Brazil, with 1,204, and a total of 3,501,975 confirmed cases. These figures show exactly why the region of the Americas continues to be the epicenter of the pandemic. This is the information that we have on the behavior of the pandemic in Cuba and the world.